ocean. Oh BP, you're ruining the sea. Oh BP, you're ruining the ocean. Clean up the oil spill, BP. Clean up, oh clean up. Oh clean up the ocean, BP, BP. Clean up, oh clean up. Oh clean up the oil spill, BP. One more time. Oh clean me, you're ruining.
We're having candlelight vigil this evening for commemoration of the 50 days massacre of the Gulf Coast and the biomass and indigenous peoples, and the affecting of that whole region. It's being put on by MoveOn.org, which is an organization for political action, and as you can see, people are engaging in whatever level they feel comfortable with here today. We've got extra signs made, and we brought extra candles and lighters, and so we're going to have a moment of silence in a few minutes and take a second to contemplate this action and what we can do tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. Totally. This is my daughter Ella.
Hello, Ella. And this is Ella.
Yep.
Hello. I see your son.
Huh? Hey.
So are you in support of the boycott?
The boycott of
BP?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then how about the
and not only that, but just the reduction in our everyday lives of the use of internal combustion engines and plastic products and everything that we can do. It's all connected, really.
All right, that's a good place to end it. Great. You got anything to say about why you're here?
I think that supporting the ocean is really good, and I love the ocean, so.
You spend any time at the ocean?
Definitely, I love the ocean.
Have you pictured what oil would look like on the Oregon coast?
I don't think that would be very good, and I think that it would be really upsetting to me because I really despise BP.
It's important, it's super important that we get out here and show big oil that small neighborhoods really are paying attention really closely. And I think we're pretty pissed about it. This is just one of over 200 events across the country on this day, commemorating the 50 days of massacre, I like to call it. We're just going to go ahead and have a moment of silence, actually, for a couple different reasons, with a couple different intentions. One would be for the families and the workers that were killed on the oil platform. And in addition to all the people and biomass that is being affected, their livelihoods, their lives. You've all seen the gruesome images of all the things that are starting to happen, and we're just at the very beginning, really. So we'd like to take a moment of silence for that now. Another thing why we're coming together, also what we wanted to achieve is also calling on Congress to end our dependence on oil and start getting actual real energy solutions. Our world is only, we have a finite system, man. Everything's closed and nothing's going out. So we have to figure out how to be within that system and to carry on that system, and so it's sustainable for not only us but all biomass on the planet as well. We're just one species here, and you've probably heard about the model. You take out the humans, you take out the ants, the whole model collapses. You take out the humans, all other species flourish. So we have to kind of figure that one out. Yeah. Fortunately, we're going up against a pretty powerful oil industry. Washington isn't even talking about any real solutions. So that's why we're here as well. To call also on President Obama and the Congress to get this working. We also encourage everybody here in town to donate to organizations that are making real change and doing some real good work there in the Gulf region as well. To MoveOn.org, that's how we all kind of came together about this. They've got some pretty cool links on their website to a couple folks. I'm going to put a plug in for Second Harvest Food Bank in New Orleans. The Gulf Restoration Network. The Gulf Restoration Network has been putting out a lot of images, getting their hands really dirty. Folks have been getting sick, getting out into the oil as well. You know, and that's another huge health concern in the area. So, and if anybody else would like to step up, feel free.
I was at the chiropractor today. And all I could think of was all the animals dying and all of the birds and fish, and I was upset and I was getting tense, and he kept saying, relax, Phoebe, relax, there's nothing you can do about it. And when he said there's nothing I can do about it, I knew there's something I could do about it, and I got a call as soon as I got home from my dear friend Jackie, who said, do you want to come here and do this tonight? And this feels so good and so right, and I think if everybody across the country starts doing this, that maybe we'll get the government to do something and really...
Yes.
I haven't been able to look at the images very much. I haven't been able to listen to the radio anymore. I've gotten so overwhelmed by it that I've started to just tune out. And when I was making a sign today, because I was trying to bring my friend and I didn't want to come alone and the whole 9 yards, I was making a sign and all these things were coming to me, and I wanted to, I'm so angry at how this has been handled, and that all we're hearing about it from the mainstream media is about the money and the money and the money and more money and how it's going to hurt these people and I feel for everybody, but just like Phoebe, I can't get over what it must be like to have your entire body immersed in oil and not be able to get it off of you, and there's no voice for all this animals that and the environment except for people like us. And so when I was doing a sign, I wanted to so jab and poke BP, but it's not just BP, it's Shell and Dutch oil and all these other Halliburton and the same old. It is the same old cast of characters, and oh my God, it just keeps going back and back. And so I guess the piece that that this sign helped me at least articulate that I want people to do something. You know, I want you to call your senators and call your congressmen and just stay on it and don't get as exhausted as I am, you know, and just plug away at it, you know, and stay with it, because there'll be more joining us. Because the minute they're out of water and air, and so they'll become environmentalists.
I share all your frustration. I felt the same way. I have, in some ways, the good fortune to work for an agency that it's a government agency, but the people in this agency really do what they do. It's a wildlife agency because they love what they do. And one of our biologists was interviewed last night on McNeil Lehrer, and she broke down in tears because she's at one of the cleaning stations and she's never seen anything like this before. A lot of us are trained in bird cleaning and will probably rotate through the Gulf. We're worried it's going to be for years. So those images of the birds that you saw, I think, are the most galvanizing because we see it with our, I think it was an awful thing to sit and photograph, but I think it's done a wonderful thing to get people to realize what's happening. The problem is that's probably 1/10 of 1% of what's dying out there. The plume that's below, I think 2,000 or 3,000 feet, is doing so much damage that we cannot see, that you really have not seen. Christopher's right, this is only the beginning of probably what might be a horrendous injury to this hemisphere. And I ask you to consider everything, even critical thought, even for alternative methods of generating energy. We're finding now with independent studies, but funded by government, that even these wind farms that we're seeing are having a tremendous impact on bats and migratory birds. In fact, on OPB, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, they showed that up to 1,700 bats are killed in certain areas per night in certain parts of eastern Oregon. So there's no free lunch. I mean, we're all as culpable as any, but I don't necessarily think that this empowers us. It says, okay, we're customers, we should demand responsible generation of energy, no matter how it comes. We're all living in the Northwest. We're living off of cheap hydropower, but this is where my life has been wrapped up in 33 years. I've been dealing with the salmon problem that the dams have presented. It's true that it was a societal choice in the 40s to generate this cheap electricity. But again, no free lunch. Somebody's paying for it, and there's human costs as well. You know what's happened to the tribes. You know how angry they are. I can't say that I blame them, but we're all paying a price for everything that we use, and just a little more thought would go a long way. So thank you for coming in. I really appreciate it. I don't know if I did any good, but it felt good.
I rode from 205 down to the Powell exit from I-5, and I set my cruise control at the speed limit, which is 65 miles an hour, which is a decent clip for a good lot of the ways. There's a few sections that are 55, probably half of it's 65. There wasn't one car between 205 and Powell that went the speed limit. Not one. So if you want to do something really big for oil consumption, because we can't all maybe afford to go out and buy a Prius, or, you know, I hear the Volt's going to be like 40 grand, you know. But whatever car you're driving, you can at least drive the speed limit. It'd be huge.
Well, I'm 32. I've never driven a car.
Yeah.
I hate cars! I hate them! I hate consumption! I hate it! We don't have to do it! We can stop! We can all stop! Stop buying shit! Stop driving! I'm angry, and I'm not angry at BP, because we are BP! We have been supporting BP. There wouldn't be BP if it wasn't for us. And there are options, and they may not be convenient, but I think people are starting to find that this Gulf leak isn't very convenient for them either. And I gotta say, for people, and I know I'm speaking to the choir here, but maybe as something you could say to other people to encourage them to drive a little bit less, it's not very convenient maybe paying for a car. I mean, how much do people work to pay for these cars and maintain them and wash them and park them? And that must take hours and hours. I can't imagine. It didn't take me very long to get here from Northwest Portland. I'm glad you're all here. I just want to say that this is so heartwarming to me because I'm so angry, and I'm hoping that there'll be more protests, and I'm really hoping this will be a catalyst for change, and more people will get involved, because as someone said before, Washington really isn't talking about doing much. We're still approving offshore oil drilling right now. So we need to act more. And maybe, I don't know what it's going to take, but I remember some wonderful people in the 60s made a lot happen and a lot of change. And I know women haven't even had a right to vote for 100 years. I know a lot has happened in the past 100 years, and we can make the world a better place.
I just want to say that I feel like I've been victimized for the last 15 years or so by corporate terrorism.
So I have been thinking a lot lately about the oil spill, as we all have. It's day 50, as we said. It's gone on way too long. I remember, you know, last month when I first started, I work in a school, and I remember when I first started telling my kids about it, and I thought, oh, they're going to cap it soon. It's going to stop soon. And that was before I realized everything, before I realized that there was a spill in 1979 already in 200 feet of water that we couldn't cap, except for 9 months later with the relief well. And I just started to get angry. I hate cars too. I hate consumption too. And we're all angry about that. But I find solace in the fact that I believe that we have a solution. And I know this might be, I mean, it's a controversial topic because it's a prohibited plant, and this might be, some people feel mixing politics with what we're trying to achieve here, but I thought I'd just put it out there because I've gotten a pretty good, you know, reception so far. I think that this plant, cannabis hemp, can solve our problem. It is what we used before oil was discovered and before oil was used for everything.
It's a legal crop in the United States.
This is what our economy thrived off of for centuries. The humankind's economy, not just the United States.
You can make paper from that too.
You can make paper. You can make everything. It's the most nutritious food. And you know, as a patient, it does wonders. I am off of prescription medicine because of this plant. And I feel great, and I have woken up. I'm alive. I'm no longer living in fear that I don't have insurance and I can't afford my pills because I have this plant. And I feel like it's a common thread that is found not within just our community, but everywhere. People of every race and every class and every creed love this plant. It's the people's plant. It's our plant. And I feel like it has potential, and it's not just potential. This is what will save us. This is what we're going to have to go back to after oil is either too expensive or people like us have just said, enough, we're done with that. And it's what has sustained humankind for as long as it's been around, since agriculture. It was the first crop, widely believed to be the first crop, if not one of the first crops. So I guess I came here today to invite all of you to start thinking about this plant as a potential solution, and maybe finding a little more courage to be a little more outspoken about your connections that you have to this plant, or maybe someone you know has a connection to it. I feel like the answer is right under our noses, and we all are cool with the answer, you know? So I think it's time that we should really just start talking about this and talking about re-legalizing hemp and ending prohibition so that we can get away from the oil companies and their disastrous oil spills. Thank you.
We should have legalization of hemp, of cannabis, and it is because of that corporate control that we don't have it. And the first cars were designed to run on hemp oil. Diesel engines were designed to were originally ran on peanut oil, and it's only because of the corporate interests, including Hearst and the paper industry. Not just for fuel. All of these things came together, and today is the prison industrial complex that thrives on all the bucks they can make out of criminalizing this beneficial plant, which was mentioned in the Bible. First ingredient, cannabism, look in your Bible, in anointing oil.
Well, I'm angry and upset too, but you know, for that reason, I wrote a little song.
And before we sing, and I just want to say, Europe's got some really great mileage standards. Why don't we have those mileage standards? You know, there are cars over there that are like getting 100 miles a gallon, and their gas costs $10 a gallon. And you know, are you guys willing to pay $10 a gallon? I am. That's going to happen. If they could tax it the right way and make us pay more for gas, there's going to be a lot less cars out there. It's too convenient. I'm embarrassed at how much I drive, and it's going to change.
I just want to say that I feel like I've been victimized for the last 15 years or so by corporate terrorism.